Morning, all, or afternoon, wherever you are at. It's July 24th on a Thursday. Remember the disclaimer and like and subscribe. Help grow the channel so we can get more videos. So today we took 8 trades on 2 stocks and we had a bad day. We're down over $60. First one was on LIDR and it's 5:46 Pacific time when I started watching at this. And by that time, it had already moved over a $1.50, $1.60. And I was ignoring it. And important lesson to learn here is, for at least for me, was since I've lost money over the last 2 days, and since there hadn't been anything moving, really moving in the pre-market, I, in my mind, set it to forget anything that was happening in pre-market today, and that I was only going to watch them. But I did pour out LIDR on my watch list, and you can see there, but I wasn't planning on trading it. And I drew some trend lines there. And after evaluating it for a little bit, it was obvious that it had some strength. So once the pullback came, it was time to evaluate whether you're going to get in. And then it looked both on time and sales and on level two that there was interest and that it would likely move up. And only because there wasn't anything else, and news was very scarce. There were hardly anything on news. So these was the only news, and the news were related to NVIDIA. So it could happen that folks were very interested in it. Both the SPY and NVIDIA were moving up, doing decently, as well as yesterday. And so at this point, I went ahead and decided to jump in, and only with a small position. I think I should have taken at this point, knowing how the strength, the burst of gains within a stock are reduced. So that's another thing I've learned. Instead of sitting and waiting for 50, 60, even $1 from a stock, it might be worth better to go in with a larger size and only, take a few cents. So my entry here was decent at 338. The stock eventually started to move up, and if you could have pulled 12 cents out with 500 shares, it might have been a lot uh, more profitable. Now it's struggling through here, but since it was staying above that 330 line, I decided to stick with it and see what would happen. And again, looking at the watch list, I mean, it was pretty scared. There was hardly anything. I logged on a little bit after 4 o'clock, and most of the scanners are empty. So looking at the volume and the MACD there on the 1 minute, it doesn't look confident. Yet here's the interesting things about it is that I decided to hold through it, thinking that it might do well, because there was enough interest in level two, and you can see the tape rushing through there is both green and red. And of course, it was a low float stock, so you know I think it's about 20 million is what Thinkorswim says. It might be even less than that. Now we're holding it here for a bit, a few minutes. So the entry was good, right off of there, right above the 20, right on the yellow price line. But then it turns into a waiting game. Right about here, I'm getting skittish and I want to get out, but I said, nah. And at this point, my focus is on time and sales and level two. That's what I'm watching. Uh, if you only watch the candle bars, they will not lie to you, but there's a difference. They update after time and sales and level two. At least that's what I've noticed. And time and sales gives you a better look as to what is happening with the stock, what the price of the stock is doing. And that's exactly what I was watching. I kept watching it, 348, comes back down, 346, 341, it drops, but it continues to go up. So continue to hold. Now at this point, what I should have done is when I hit 341, 343, is add some more. That would have been the play. But trying to keep a tight stop and losses down to a minimum because we don't know what it was going to do. And it was obviously consolidating through those few minutes there in that period. Notice that it went up and then it falls back down again, and now we're down. And there I'm getting ready to scale out and sell out. My mouse pointer is on the sell bid. But I continue to watch time and sales, and I also continue to look over to the watch list, and there's nothing in the gappers. The other two stocks that I looked at aren't doing much, and even in the pre-market scan, nothing is really showing a great sign of momentum there. So I finally scaled out, and I'll take $5.51, which is good. But I come back a few minutes later, and the stock is still moving, and now it's hit 383. So had I held and added, that would have been the play. But hindsight is 2020. So now we have to watch it through here, and the MACD has crossed over now. We just got to watch the volume and see if the volume is going to come in, and watch level two. And if you continue to look at time and sales, it's still a little bit erratic to me in that it is not shooting straight up, but it is going up. So take a few. So we continue to evaluate how it's going to move and take trades, small trades. Continue to watch the volume, look for pullbacks. And here there's a surge in the number of buyers. So we jump in again. A nice move there. And I think when I looked at the resistance for this stock, I didn't see anything till $5. So yeah. So we edge out again, just being overcautious that it's not going to go over 4. There's one thing about that stock that you can see there. You can see the BWAP and all of the EMA lines. They all pretty much lined up and are moving at a 45-degree angle. That was a great sign. Also, I failed to point that out earlier. That when I was taking the trade, that's one of the things I was looking at, the angle. Because if you see a stock that is moving up in that way, it means it's slowly moving up and up and up, and it has good momentum, and it's not going to be quick, but it is going to give you a little bit of profit. You just have to take it a little bit at a time, or take a real long wait. And like I said, I had already I missed it when it was less than $3. Otherwise, it would have been a nice $2 win there. So even up here at 425 feels top heavy, and but I go ahead and take a gamble because it looks like it continues to be strong, and it's already 6:03. So it's about what, 20 minutes into it, and it continues to move. And the stock at this point is gives you the feeling that there's no stopping it. That if there's a great market and a lot of buyers come in, that it's just going to go and maybe hit $8 or $12. But I don't think that's going to happen. So at this point, I scale out, uh, sell out, and that was a bit of a good thing there because it was a wick up there, a long wick. And then I think about uh, buying some more and holding it until the open, but because it's only 6:04 and 26 minutes to the open, and I'm thinking that this stock might move at open, but nothing's a sure bet, so I opted not to. And as you can see here, it started to go down, and the volume starts to die down, and the MACD lines begin to swirl down, even though there's still heavy interest in both the bid and the ask. But it just wasn't meant to be. And right around that time, WINT started to pop up, but it didn't appear to have much. So messed around with recording OBS again, having issues, and here we are. This is after the open, and you can see there. Had I taken 100 shares right before the market opened on LIDR, we would have been up quite a bit of money because it went up 80 cents there, just about. But I didn't. Instead, I waited for it to go into a halt. And coming off the halt, I thought I had an opportunity for a reclaim. And I sort of hit the buy button a little high. And when it finally came back down below the 20, I went ahead and bought some more because I thought it still had opportunity to go, but it didn't happen. So then I went back in, and I'm just being stubborn here, thinking that there's a possibility of it recovering and going back up to over 5. But of course, now it's just a down spiral, and I don't cut it fast enough. And there, and there. So I think we're down over $60 on a LIDR. and you got to take the hits. And it's been a bad week. This is the third day in a row, um, and there's nothing we can do. We'll just have to go towards tomorrow and see if there's something in the morning early that we can reclaim a little bit and make sure we wind up we reduce the amount of losses for the week, and then we still have 5 days, or well, one day to tomorrow, and then next week to try to recover. We're still green on a month, but we've dropped back down. So then I saw Oklo moving, and that was a higher price stock, and I still had some funds left, and I know I've seen this stock move very quickly up to $80, $90. And I thought, oh, well, why not? So I started purchasing with five and then scaling in with what else I could buy to see if there was an opportunity. And at this point, what I'm looking to do is to reduce that $63 loss down as much as possible. But I held this one a little too long and didn't wind up making much on it. I didn't check how it did the rest of the day. I'll check that a little later and see if I need to cry, as well as with LIDR. But those are the plays. You got to take the wins with the losses, and but 3 red days in a row are bad. So now we need to be extra cautious and not don't let the red days instill fear in you. That's the worst thing that could happen. Fear is 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 bad because you might as well just not even log on because you won't trade. It's like people say, fall off a bicycle, you got to get back up on it. Fall off a horse, get back on it. And you have to try it. So my thought here for this higher price stock was just the fact that I've seen it move quite a bit, and that perhaps the higher price stocks were having better days over the past few days, and the small caps are just not cutting it for us. Now, when it hit that high day at 73, I should have scaled out instead of waited, hoping for 75, 80. That's what I was looking for. And it might do that, but at least in the time that I had, there wasn't enough time for me to do anything. So don't step outside of your strategy when you're trading. Stick with what you know. Like and subscribe.